I am a forgeworld junkie. I admit it. I admit it. I love it. I love all the crazy big models. I love how ridiculous they are. I love building them. I love painting them. I love collecting them. I know they're not particularly useful in 99% of the armies that they're supposed to go in, but that's not really the point for me. I love it. I love it. And I don't intend to stop anytime soon. So get over it. Last year alone, I did a Nurgle Warhound Titan, I did a Reaver Titan, I did my Knight Porphyrion, and a few other bits and pieces for Forgeworld were mixed in with that. But I have left a trove of unfinished or even unstarted Forgeworld products in my wake over the course of my hobby career. Some of them are kind of piled high on this table here. And by the end of 2026, I do want to get through a whole host of more of these kits, get them all done and dusted. They are so big and so expensive, and that is a real shame to just leave them in boxes for literally years, some of them. So I want to do something about that. And another thing that's kind of spurred this on is by the end of 2026, I want to have a fully built and painted Thunderhawk and a fully built and painted Mastodon for my Imperial Fist Legion for the Horus Heresy. Those are two other gigantic big forgeable pieces that I don't even own yet. So I feel bad getting those models while leaving these ones in the dust. So in today's video, I'm going to start the process of getting another one of these big pieces ticked off and off my backlog. What do I have in my backlog, you might be wondering? Well, I have, for instance, here's an Eldar Cobra. Super heavy tank, beautiful tank. Don't even think it's available anymore. Quite expensive, really nice. I have a Land Raider Achilles. Don't think those are made anymore either. I have a pair of Thunderbolts. Two Forgeworld Thunderbolts. Two big gigantic planes. You can't buy one plane, you've got to have its wingman, so there's two of those sat there. This box, oh obviously, yeah, I've got a Tantalus here. Dark Eldar Tantalus, which is semi-built. It needs a lot more work, but it's mostly there. I have the Supremacy armor for my Tau. So I've got that Tau Supremacy armor, plus all its arms. I actually did start by cleaning off some of those parts. It's all inside of this box, all neat and tidy and ready to go for assembly. The arms aren't, that's a whole other process. In this box set, let me see if I can move my Reaver Titan across without dropping it or breaking it. Stay. What's in this box set is what I think I'm actually deciding to go with. So let me just move my Porphyrion. Inside this gigantic red box is the tank that came out for Space Marines, a super heavy Astraeus tank. It's basically the Primaris super heavy tank. It was quite a bizarre choice when it dropped. We all expected the Overlord gunship. That's what they talked about in the background and in the lore, a whole host. And it's still in the established lore is the Overlord gunship. Someone has mocked up a design of it online, and that's what I imagine it's going to look like. It's going to be super cool. None of the novels have ever talked about an Astraeus, I don't think. I've read all of them, I think, and I can't think of any time it's ever popped up in the lore. It seems like one of those bizarre things that Forgeworld were just like, we need a big thing for Primaris Marines. Let's just make up a tank. So they did this. And although I don't exactly know where it fits in with the lore, it's an awesome, awesome tank. And I've had it now for as long as I've had more Porphyrion. I got them at the same time. And it's sat in this box unloved and untouched for that long. So let's change that today. In today's video, I'm going to get it all cleaned up, all polished, all filed, and all fully assembled for ready to be painted, which I will hopefully do in the next week or two. I'll get it painted up as well as another video. So this will have to be a two-parter. I cannot build and paint this thing in a single video. That's just preposterous.
It's outrageous, egregious, preposterous.
But I will go through the entire assembly for you and show you what it looks like at the end. So hopefully you're excited to see that. So stick around and enjoy the video. Okay, I guess first things first is let's find out what makes up this model. I think I've opened this box once and had a look at one or two of the parts. But that's about it really. It's mostly still completely sealed and completely wrapped up. Does look like it's quite a few pieces. Holy hell. Okay. She is a big tank. This is some part of the body. Look how rough all this is. It's going to take quite some time to get this looking. I don't even know which way around. That's the top, is it? I think that's the top. Anyway, large piece there, large baggie. Oh God, large baggie. Oh God, large baggie. Cannons, I guess. What the hell is in this? We need a knife. What the hell is even this? Oh, it's the like crazy big engine assembly back bit, I guess. I think. I don't know. Oh, there's more. Oh, there's more. Holy crapola. These parts seem to be really well cast, at least. Super smooth. Obviously, this is one of the earliest casts of this. I got it pretty much when it came out. So, kind of earlier you can get a casting of a forgeworld kit, the better. So the mold hasn't degraded or anything like that. There's no gaps in it or so. That never stops me buying older forgeworld kits, by the way. I just deal with the issues that can arise from older kits. But this is looking fairly clean. And it does, that's what we're trying to assemble. This massive thing. It's kind of insane. An Astraeus Super-heavy Tank. That's how many pieces we're trying to deal with. What have I done? Okay, let's get to work. And what can I say other than let's dive in and start the cleanup process. So as you can see, there is a colossal amount of parts to kind of work through and kind of get sorted before we can do any kind of assembly. The prep work for forgeworld miniatures is obviously much more extensive than normal kind of Games Workshop plastics or anything like that. Not only do you need to cut off all of those giant big gates, which you just saw me do with the clippers, you must then remove any remnants of those gates that were left on the models, making it as clean and seamless as possible, as these are usually contact points that need to be glued later on. So if you leave kind of a big horrible nub behind, then the two parts will not glue together. There'll be gaps and it's horrible. Pretty much no matter what you do, there will be gaps in the model anyway. What I've found is to try and, I don't know, smartly decide where the gaps are going to be, if that makes sense. Like if you've got this, for instance, panel which gets slotted into the side, if it slightly tilts up and down, I would push it as far up as possible so the seam on the top of the tank is completely sealed, and then maybe there's a little bit of a gap on the bottom of the tank. Do you know what I mean? Stuff like that, where you can kind of hide it. And it's very unlikely that anyone is ever going to see the bottom of this tank. If anyone tries to flip it over when it's dead, I'll probably flip them over and make them dead. Obviously, very expensive piece. You want to be careful with it. A little bit of backstory and history of this tank is the Astraeus, formerly the Astraeus Super-heavy Tank, is a massive super-heavy grav tank utilized exclusively by the Primaris Space Marines. Just as these new transhuman warriors represent the pinnacle of the Adeptus Astartes capabilities, the Astraeus Super-heavy Tank embodies the apex of Imperial engineering, a devastating war machine that serves as the perfect complement to any Primaris Astartes force. The Astraeus uses similar anti-grav plate technology to the repulsor transporter, also used by the Primaris Space Marines, but on a far grander scale. The enhanced repulsor plates of the Astraeus provide a stable firing platform for the tank's temperamental weapons, which also allow the vehicle to advance inorgably over hostile terrain. The vehicle's thick armor and additional protection from its onboard layered void shields allow it to shrug off even the most devastating of weapon strikes. The Astraeus is a symbol of the Imperium's might, unbowed by the dawning of a bloody new millennium and unbroken by the onslaught of its foes. So it is a very, very cool tank. But like I said in the kind of intro, it's also kind of a bizarre tank in that it's like Forgeworld made it, produced it, and that's it. That's all we've ever really heard about it. It has never appeared in a novel, which is where everything else has. At the beginning of this video, I talked about the Overlord gunship, which is something they talked about over and over again in earlier books to do with Primaris Space Marines. That's how they would land it. That was their version of a Thunderhawk, although by reading it, it's much closer to the size of a Stormbird. So it was a big, big flyer, and that's kind of what we were expecting to get from Forgeworld. We were going to get the big gunship, but we didn't. We got this out of nowhere, left field thing, and no one seems to talk about it. So I'm not sure whether kind of like Games Workshop as a whole was super happy with its development and it's being thrown into the game, or whether Forgeworld just kind of went renegade as usual and just made a crazy tank and said it's a Primaris thing. I don't really know, but for one, I am glad that it exists. I'm enjoying owning one, getting it assembled and stuff like that, and I do kind of get excited for getting it painted and on tabletop. So as you can see, I'm still very much just fawning through the parts, getting them as clean as possible, removing any of the kind of excess water and stuff, because as you notice, I did actually wash the parts.
once all of the gates were removed and all of the mold lines were gone and filed down and cleaned off. I didn't record any of this footage because it was just downstairs at a sink with washing up liquid, because washing up liquid has a degreaser in it, which is super helpful. And then an old toothbrush, and you just give all the parts a really good scrub, and then make sure that you then rinse them with super clean water, which will allow all the parts to be ready. After that, you just start assembling pieces. I'm not one of these people that goes crazy with like mental amounts of pinning or anything like that. I don't think it's needed. Some good solid cleanup and a good pot of super glue will go a long way to having these awesome tanks fully built. So yeah, we've gotten the kind of weapons all built now. And before we move on to constructing the giant hull, I'm just going to annoy you guys again for another moment.
While I have you guys here, I just want to say a big thank you to all of my active patrons and everyone out there that supports the channel in all of the myriad of ways it is possible to support me, either by just watching a whole bunch of my videos. That makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. Whether you drop comments, likes, making sure that you're subscribed, those are all really, really, really important, and they cost you nothing. And anyone that goes the extra mile that signs up to the Patreon to help keep the lights on and the cameras rolling, thank you guys so much for doing that. You've no idea how much that helps the cause of growing this channel. Obviously, for being a Patreon member, you need to get a little bit of bang for your buck. So there's a whole host of different reasons for being signed up. You get access to a private Discord server. We host a whole bunch of events over there. And you get an extra video every single week. You get access to a podcast that we only do for patrons. There's a giveaway every single month. We actually haven't picked what we're giving away for January yet, so I'll need to do that. But there will be a nice big giveaway for January as well. So yeah, there's a whole host of reasons. If you want to check out that Patreon, obviously I'll leave it linked down below. And as a little extra side note, we have split our channels into 3 because it's just better for the algorithm and better for that kind of content. So if you like Middle Earth content or if you like old world content, there's 2 videos linked at the top of this channel that you can go check out and subscribe to those if you will. That would be fantastic. All right, thank you guys so much. Let's get back to finishing off this Astraeus.
And as you can see, the body sections of this tank are colossal. There's what, 7 or 8 large components here which need to get assembled and put on the front of this tank. And yeah, these are the parts that you kind of need to get correct. And there will be gaps. But like I said earlier, I made sure that those gaps were underneath, especially that whole front section. Not the section I'm putting on now, but kind of the next section that gets put on was a nightmare. And you can see those huge gaps there underneath the tank. But who's going to see those gaps? When you flip the tank right way up, there is no gaps. It's seamless up top, but quite rough and ugly underneath, which is unfortunate, but I think I did the best I could for cleaning it up. I'm not very good at gap filling either. I've never been good at gap filling. I don't know what the correct material to use is or what products to use to fill and make it like seamless. Anytime I've done gap filling before, it's almost like emphasized the fact that there was a gap there. I've never made it as smooth as an armor panel before, so maybe that's a failing on my part. But as you can see, more and more armored panels and like railings and all sorts of other bits and pieces start to get clamped on, and it starts to really bring this behemoth of a tank to life. And obviously this being the first video for the main channel of 2026, I thought it was fun to go for something a little bit larger and a little bit grander. And I hope you are enjoying it. Hopefully the fact that I'm not painting in this single video isn't annoying to you guys. Just I couldn't possibly do it all in a single kind of work sitting with all the other stuff I have to do in a week. But yeah, some of the parts were a little bit bent, which means they wouldn't glue properly, some of these armored struts or the repulsor struts. So all I needed to do was dip the components into boiling hot water, and you will see that the component goes quite soft. And then all you do is add a tiny touch of super glue and bend it into place, and then it's perfect. Glue those in. There is 25 repulsor plates to do, so that was quite an ordeal. Here is the base that Games Workshop sent with the tank, which is a disgrace, to be honest with you. It's a, I don't know, €400 kit or however much I paid for this silly thing. And the base they expect you to put it on is all warped and bent and crappy. So I laser cut out this giant oval here. I like these kind of tanks being on ovals, as I think it kind of encompasses the frame of the tank a little bit better. Obviously, it's a lot sturdier. It's not going to bend or warp or anything like that. And yeah, I just like it. It's just a much more stable platform to be putting a model that's this kind of fragile, if you will, into place. So I started to mess around with the giant flying stand they give you. I've never seen a flying stand like this before. It gets its own custom one. So I got all the parts, all the gates cut off, spent a little bit of time sanding them down, and then I glued them into place. These parts will be getting sprayed. I'm not a big one for clear flying stands. They can just get sprayed or painted black at the very end, and who cares? But I will notice that these were clear when I first bought them, and now they're yellow. So they have yellowed over time, even in the box. I don't know why. I don't know how that happens. If anyone has an explanation as to why clear resin goes yellow after a time, but it did. But basically I blue tacked then the flying stock itself into place and then added super glue to the bottom. And then I very carefully positioned it into the correct spot on the base. So it kind of sat in the middle, or as much in the middle as I could make it. And then obviously I removed the Astraeus and added extra super glue around that flying stand. It will of course get extra reinforced later on with some texture paste and stuff that holds the base down. I was tempted to drill through the bottom of the base and into that flying stand and actually add a screw to it to really hold it in place, because I'm not really 100% feeling good about that like one section, but what are you gonna do? Okay, with that, we have our finished Astraeus tank ready to be sprayed and painted up. What an ordeal, but what a result. Well, there we have it, a fully built Astraeus Super-heavy Tank for my Space Marines. This will be getting painted up in the correct Legion, which of course is Imperial Fists, and be joining my Primaris Imperial Fist army very, very soon. To be honest with you guys, I've started a whole new style of painting my Imperial Fists. I put a lot of effort into them, and the thing about that is it takes a lot of time, which is okay. But I haven't transitioned from painting infantry to anything larger just yet. So I think I need to cut my teeth on something a little bit smaller before I try and transition that technique onto this tank. So I think I'm going to do a Vindicator next. It's a nice kind of small compact tank, very interesting, very excited to do that. And then once I'm happy with that result, then I will jump over and get this Astraeus painted up. I'm very excited to get it done, and I'm very excited to get it on the table. I've actually owned it now for more than 2 years without assembling it. That's just pitiful. So like I said, super happy that I have it built. Now I need to find somewhere safe to put it until it gets painted up and add it to my cabinets. So yeah, hopefully you guys had fun watching this. As you know, I've got a whole bunch of other big projects planned in the very near future, including a Thunderhawk and a Mastodon. So if you enjoy those kind of content, you want to see more big Forge World kits kind of done on the channel, please let me know in the comments below. Make sure that you show your support, like, comment, subscribe, do all those good things on it. Yeah, thank you guys so much for sticking around. I'll see you in the next one.